Nearly 2,000 attendees were here at Edberg Olson Hall over the weekend to watch the Temple football team finish off their spring season with the cherry and white game. Access granted for a brand new edition of OwlAccess Pass, and it all starts right now. Before we dive into football, we start with some late news from Monday night. Temple men's basketball star Caleb Battle announced that he has decided to enter into the 2022 NBA draft with the option to return to school. Now, not many saw this one coming as Battle suffered a season-ending foot injury very early in the season, but he still averaged about 21 points per game in the 7 games he played. Battle wrote in his declaring message shared on social media that he hopes Owl fans will stay by his side during this journey. And now looking to women's basketball star Mia Davis. Davis declared for the WNBA draft just a few weeks ago, but on Monday night, she did not hear her name called. Davis averaged 17 points and 8 rebounds over her career at Temple, all while earning the program's title as the all-time scoring leader with 2,376 total points. And now to football. Welcome to Edberg Olson Hall. I'm Lindsay Moppert. Just behind me on Saturday, the Temple football team finished off its spring season, and head coach Stan Drayton brought the annual cherry and white game back to 10th and Diamond for the first time in 3 years. It was the public's first official glimpse of Coach Drayton's team, and there was definitely a big turnout. Offense versus defense was the name of the game, with points being awarded for big plays for the defense in the cherry jerseys and more traditional scoring for the offense dressed in white. Defense came out of the gate on fire with interceptions and turnover after turnover. They started pulling together a big lead, but the offense managed to bounce back soon after and score their first touchdown of the day, coming from a 23-yard reception by Devon Fox. But for the most part, the first half was dominated by the defense. Now in the second, the offense was able to make a few more plays like this one where Ahmad Anderson Jr. stepped up, making this catch for a 32-yard back shoulder touchdown. Even with a decent comeback attempt, the defense still came out as the winner, with the final score being 64-54. And just like any other game, there were a few players who stood out among the rest. 2 of these standouts include Leighton Jordan and Ahmad Anderson Jr. On a day the defense put a lot of pressure on the offense, Jordan had a day for himself. He had 4 combined sacks and added 8 points for the defense. For Anderson Jr., he had a 32-yard touchdown and an extremely explosive play which consisted of an 18-plus yard pass. A nice day for Drayton to see his quad in action. Joining us now is the man who brought the cherry and white game back to 10th and Diamond after 3 years, head coach Stan Drayton. Coach, how are you today? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm doing well. How about you? You doing all right?
I am fantastic. It's a beautiful day outside.
It is a beautiful day.
Now, it's wonderful to see you again. So we actually sat down in the beginning of March, prior to spring football, prior to the game, all of that. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you was obviously about the turnout on Saturday. I mean, fans, family, friends, former players, recruits, all of that, they were all here to support you and your new era here at Temple. What does that mean to you?
It means the world. I mean, first of all, it was a gorgeous day for football, and we sit there and we preach to our players of what this Temple thing used to look like. You know what I mean? And it is the former players. It is the embracing of the community and the families, and everybody's involved in the process. And to actually be able to present that to our players in a reality, format, such as the cherry and white spring game was something special. I thought, a little overwhelming for me. Actually, I didn't expect all of that, but it was phenomenal. You had barbecue, in the air. You had people just enjoying themselves, having a great time, and all the former football players, the feedback of them feeling like they're at home again. All that stuff was very overwhelming for me, and I appreciate it. It really gives me an indicator that we're doing things the right way, the Temple way, And, we're just going to keep on building from there.
Now, Coach, my last question for you is kind of what's next? So what do you want to see from your team, heading into the summer as you prepare for your first season here as a Temple Owl?
I would love to see the leadership piece continue to develop. That needs to take a huge step forward going into this off season. We need guys holding each other accountable. We still have guys that are showing leadership traits. We have guys that are showing even single-digit traits that are still not of the mindset of bringing others along with them. They just don't know how. It's not that they're not willing, they just don't know how. So as a coaching staff, we have to give them the tools to help them take that next step forward in that respect. But we'll win football games when this player becomes a player-led football team. And we'll win championships when they figure out that they hold each other accountable and they're completely responsible for that. So moving into this off season, as our coaches start to go on the road recruiting and things of that sort, that's going to be a huge responsibility of our strength and conditioning staff. We're currently in the mode of player evaluation to let them know exactly where they stand and the things that they need to continue to improve on in that respect. And again, it's up to me to give them the tools to help them knock the barriers down so that they can be real with each other on a daily basis and hold themselves accountable. And once we get to that point, we can start talking about success.
Well, Coach, that's about all I have for you today.
All right.
I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to speak with us again.
Yeah.
It was great to catch up, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
All right.
As we just talked about, fans weren't the only ones taking in the game on Saturday. Several former and current NFL stars with Temple ties were on hand, and that includes Eagles linebacker and former Temple Owl, Sean Bradley.
It's been really good, man. I've been to a couple of practices. I didn't get to talk to the team specifically, but I've been in and out, seeing some of the players and watching them work. And I think he's doing a great job, man. Seems real attentive, real physical out here, so I like it. That's Temple. That's Temple right there. That's what we live off of. We've always been a Temple defense type of team, so they better be playing like that. Beautiful out here. It's a beautiful day. It's a good turnout. A lot of people came out. Everybody watching. It's like all the players. A lot of players came back, so it's good to see everybody, man.
We've heard from the coach, a former player, and now the trifecta. Joining me now at Edberg Olson Hall is Owl Sports Update's Ray Dunn. That's Ray Dunn of Inside the Nest, Ray Dunn of Courts in Session, Ray Dunn of WHIP. It's Ray Dunn. Thank you so much for being here, Ray.
It's way too kind an introduction. Thank you for having me, though.
Now, Ray, I have to start our conversation off with a little bit of weather talk. I mean, can we just discuss the weather on Saturday?
It was a hail of a day. I mean, you had the rain, the hail, you had sunshine. It was northeastern, it was Pennsylvania weather through and through for that day on Saturday.
What are some takeaways that you may have now?
I think there's takeaways on both sides of the ball. I think when you're looking at the offense, there's still some problems there that were there in the fall with the previous regime. I think there's a lot of growth still to be had there. The offensive line had a rough day. I think you're still trying to see someone take hold of that running back room and do something with it, be the leader in that room. You have a lot of talent there. It's about someone taking that next step. And then the quarterback, Juan Mathis, is still a work in progress. He's still progressing. You saw flashes of some really good things, but there is still a lot of work for him to get where they need him to be to have a successful season. So I think offensively, you saw the work in progress, and defensively, you saw where they can be and what they can do as a unit.
What have you learned from this game, or what are some takeaways that you may have now?
I think there's takeaways on both sides of the ball. I think when you're looking at the offense, there's still some problems there that were there in the fall with the previous regime. I think there's a lot of growth still to be had there. The offensive line had a rough day. I think you're still trying to see someone take hold of that running back room and do something with it, be the leader in that room. You have a lot of talent there. It's about someone taking that next step. And then the quarterback, Juan Mathis, is still a work in progress. He's still progressing. You saw flashes of some really good things, but there is still a lot of work for him to get where they need him to be to have a successful season. So I think offensively, you saw the work in progress, and defensively, you saw where they can be and what they can do as a unit.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think for me, one of the biggest overall thoughts I'd have is just that there's potential. I think after a few rough seasons, that's all any Temple fan really wants to see is some potential out there. And even during the team's warm-up, I was standing on the sideline and I heard someone say, wow, that was refreshing. All of the energy, the screaming out there from the coaches, the players, it's definitely refreshing, and I think that speaks measures. And again, I think people need to acknowledge it's not something that's necessarily going to change overnight. Again, spring football is 15 practices. So for me, it's all about the potential and even more so, the mentality of the team, which is clearly a focus of Coach Drayton's plan for this program.
100%. I think that's a big thing people have to remember. Rome wasn't built in a day. Even the Matt Rule era, that took time for things to happen. It's going to take time for this program, but you're absolutely right. There is something to be happy about, be excited about.
Yes. Well, Ray, that's about all the time we have today, but I want to thank you again. It's always a wonderful time when we have you on our show.
Thank you.
While football was wrapping up on Saturday, there was another sport across campus picking up a milestone. And of course, someone had to hold down the fort in TV Studio 3, so let's invite in Owl Sports Update's Brielle Berry to tell us a little bit more about this historic win. Brielle?
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. Coming into Saturday's game against Cincinnati, the lacrosse team was sitting at 499 wins. It was the Owls' second straight home game and their first alumni game since 2019. Last season, the Owls beat the Bearcats twice on the road and look to continue that streak into 2022.
In Black Cincinnati,
at Howard Field, less than 2 minutes into the game, Cincinnati jumped out to a quick 1-0 lead with a Kylie Noss goal. Junior Mackenzie Roth was the first player to score for the Owls, and Roth scored or assisted on the following 3 goals, putting Temple up 4-2. At the half, Temple had an 8-5 lead, but Cincy came out in the third and cut the score to 1. In the last 4 minutes of the game, the Cherry and White scored 3 goals. Belle Mastropietro led the team with 4 goals, scoring the 100th of her career. Roth finished with a hat trick and 3 assists. Temple had 5 different players score once. Goalie Annie Carroll was just 1 save shy of her career high. She finished with 11 saves. Owls win 14-10. Saturday's win makes Temple Lacrosse just the 6th program to reach 500 wins in NCAA Division I history. Following Saturday's game, Temple had 3 players named to the AAC Weekly Honor Roll in Mastropietro, Roth, and Maddie Barber. Mastropietro won Midfielder of the Week for the 2nd week in a row. Up next, Temple will travel down to Greenville, North Carolina for its first conference road trip of the season, where the Owls will face East Carolina. The Pirates are 1-1 in the AAC and 8-6 overall. That's all I have for women's lacrosse. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Brielle Berry. Lindsay, back to you at Edberg Olson.
Thank you, Brielle. And finally today, if you've been keeping up with us at Owl Sports Update, you may have heard of a special basketball documentary that will be coming out on April 28th on TUTV. The title says it all, so here's a preview of For the Love of the City.
Temple, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Penn, Villanova.
The 5 schools, they loved each other, but they hated each other.
He was coached by John Chaney.
It was a family because everybody cared about one another.
This is a basketball city.
I don't know of any other city that would care enough.
And the fact that they played in one venue, for the most part, just made it different.
It's just remarkable. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's just unprecedented.
In addition to our basketball special For the Love of the City, we still have our regular programming here at Owl Sports Update Productions. We have the Monday Sports Brief. I'm here on Tuesday. Wednesday, we've got our podcast, Owl Sports Update Off Air with the awesome Jay Rosen. This week, he's speaking with Bella Diamore about her work with the Temple News and the Inquirer. And finally, we are live at noon on Thursday with our signature show, Owl Sports Update, where Luke Milai and Josh Safran will be rocking the desk this week. That will just about do it for this very special edition of OwlAccess Pass. So until next week, same time, not the same place, I will be back in the studio. Your access is now up. For the entire crew, I'm Lindsay Moppert. Have a very lovely week, everyone.